All right. Welcome to the Cloudways Black Friday, Cyber Monday Prepathon. Paul Boag and I here to rock out another awesome session for all of you business owners, agency owners looking to have a outstanding Black Friday, Cyber Monday this year, 2021. So this session today with UX legend, Paul Boag. Can I call you UX legend, Paul Boag? Does that
No,
sound
I
good,
don't.
Paul?
I don't think you can because being an Englishman, we're very self-deprecating. We're not legends. We're not awesome. We're adequate. That's the best that we're willing to go to. Adequate UX professional. In fact, even the professional bit, I would potentially argue about.
Well, I'm gonna call you UX legend, but self-described adequate UX professional. Paul Boag is here to hang out with us. We're gonna be rocking some live UX reviews. So we're gonna be looking at actual websites that people submitted ahead of time, and we'd also love to open it up to our amazing audience today. If you're looking for us to do a user experience assessment audit, give you some tips, some ideas about how you can improve conversions, connect with your users better so that you can have an amazing Black Friday, Cyber Monday, then this is the session for you. So definitely let us know in comments if you have a site that you'd like Paul to review. We're going to be getting into the UX reviews here in just a second. But if you're wondering who I am, my name is Brent Weaver. I'm co-founder of UGurus, a coaching and training program for digital agencies. I'm also a Cloudways maverick. And Paul is, as we said, a leader in conversion optimization and digital strategy and user experience design. He's got clients like the European Commission, Puma, Doctors Without Borders, and he's been doing this for over 25 years through his consultancy, training. He's also published 6 books, like Click, Digital Adaptation, and the User Experience Revolution. So we're gonna have some fun today. I think we're gonna have some fun today. That's what I think is safe to say today. So if you have a site that you'd love us to do some user experience analysis, let us know in the comments. And Paul, let's get this show on the road. I know we have some sites that were submitted ahead of time, and I'd love to even just kind of start and look at something. So we can kind of start to think about how to improve these sites going into Black Friday, Cyber Monday.
So I've got ultimate respect for those people that have submitted the websites ahead of time because you don't know what you're getting into, right? While the people that submit it in the comments, they can watch. What will happen is people will watch and they'll find out how rude or otherwise I am about these websites and then decide whether they want to share their websites. But the people that submitted ahead of time just went for it. So I respect that. But here's the thing. I always start, whenever I do these sessions, I always start with a massive caveat, which is, yes, we are going to identify some weaknesses in these sites and we're going to look for ways to improve them. But I'm not stupid. I know that even though you're the one that submitted the website, and even though maybe you're the one that designed the website, the chances are the things that I'm going to pick up on are stuff you're already aware of and was forced upon you by clients, right? Or other stakeholders, right? So none of this should be taken personally because the truth is, it's not your fault. Someone else has told you to do this, and I'm all too aware of that. And hopefully, what I'm hoping is maybe you can go away back to your client or your stakeholder and go, Paul Boag says your idea was shit, right? And I can get the blame rather than you. And I think that all works out well for everybody. So, Brent, should we bring up the first website and jump on in?
Yeah, let's do it, man. This is
I'm so chuffed. This is the first website.
And one thing, Paul, before we do this too, is I know we're gonna be talking about specific websites here for specific people, and if you have a website, obviously we'd love to review it. But I think what I also want people to be listening for is how they can take your suggestions about these specific websites and apply those same concepts to their business, right? I think that's going to be
the whole point. Yeah.
Yeah.
the idea is the points that I'm drawing out, I'm using these websites to illustrate much broader points that pretty much you'll see on the vast majority of websites. It's nice to have something real to respond to rather than, just a slide deck that kind of goes through, these things. And this could not have been a better start for me. This is somebody submitted hatshop.com, right? And so the site loaded up, and within 5 seconds or so of it loading up, this is what I got, right? So I haven't proceeded any further in the site. But immediately we hit one of my all-time favorite mistakes that I see made time and time again, which is the sign up for our newsletter, right? Straight out of the gate. And this amuses me hugely, because if you think about it, on an e-commerce site, which this is one, why are you asking people to sign up to your newsletter? You want to sign up to your newsletter so you can keep in contact with them. Why do you want to keep in contact with them? So that they will buy your product or service. Correct? Fairly logical. So let's then follow that through. So someone comes to your site to buy one of your products, and you're interrupting them, email them to buy one of your products. Well, hang on a minute. Why don't you just get out of the way and let them buy the product, right? But okay, I'm being slightly facetious with that comment, because obviously the chances are maybe someone won't buy the product on their first visit and you want to keep in contact with them. Fine, I get that. But you don't want to hit them with this straight out of the gate. For a start, I haven't seen any hats yet, right? So how do I know that I want 10% off my first order? Right? So that's how you're sweetening the deal. You're sweetening the deal by offering me 10% off of my first order, right? Fair enough. That's great. But I'm not going to sign up to your newsletter to get 10% off of something that I haven't yet seen, and it might be rubbish. So what am I going to do? Right? Well, it's obvious, isn't it? I'm going to close that down. Right. Now here's my problem. Okay. Let's go into the shop for a minute. I'm not even going to spend a lot of time looking at anything just for now, because I want to finish this. So I've gone into men's hats. I think this funky one would suit me. Actually, in truth, none of these hats, £1,300. No, I'm not paying that for a hat. And I'll tell you why, is because I very much doubt. Oh, yeah, you might just about get a hat that's big enough for my enormous head, right?
if it's $1,300, it better fit, right?
It better fit, yeah. So, okay, now I've found a hat that I really like, right? I want this hat. Right, $1,300. That's quite a lot for a hat. And 10% off. That's $130 off you're offering me. Where can I get my $130 off? I can't. It's gone. Where's the overlay? How do I get my? Hang on. I want my money. You're charging me $130 extra now for this hat, right? You see the problem.
So if I'm a brand new customer, I come here, I see that offer. The offer's maybe a tad too early. Yeah. But now I've actually found a hat that I want, and then I'm like, oh yeah, hey, I'm a first-time customer. Where's that thing that I wanted? And now I'm probably gonna hunt around the website, maybe open up a browser in incognito, try to trigger the pop-up again if I'm a savvy user.
Yeah, if you're a savvy user, and that's the thing. A lot of people don't realize they can do that, of course. So what is making your hat now looks even more expensive than it already is? Because in my head, it should be $130 cheaper than it is, right? Because you've primed me. It's psychology. You've primed me out of the gate to expect me to get 10% off, and then you have failed to deliver that. So asking for those kinds of things out of the gate is a really bad idea. The time you want to ask people to sign up to your newsletter is on this page, on the product page. They found a product that they like. Now is a good point where they're dithering about it, because that's a lot of money for a hat, let's be honest. So they're a bit unsure about whether they want to spend that kind of money on a hat. So that's the point where you maybe come in with the secondary call to action of saying, well, if you're not ready to buy right now, why don't you consider signing up to a newsletter, and you'll get an exclusive, money off offer, etc. And then that allows you to follow them up. Anyway, that's
so when basically that pop-up should shift from homepage right when they come to the site to actually be on the product page, which it's not currently triggering on the product page.
Correct.
And Paul, I want to hold your thought real quick. At some point during today's live session, Paul's going to tell you about why it's important to have social proof on your website. So if you want to get a really cool Cloudways giveaway, be on the lookout for that question. I know we were supposed to ask that at the beginning of the session, but be on the lookout. It's the secret question from Cloudways today to get that important giveaway. Paul, let's keep cruising through this site.
Okay, so let's have a look. I've gone back to the home page now. So another thing we've got going on here is carousels. Oh, carousels, how I love you. Carousels are heavily used across lots and lots of sites. And there are a lot, if you speak to a lot of UX people, they really dislike carousels, right? And the reason they dislike carousels is because it's just a way of cramming a huge amount of information into one screen or one view. And the problem with them is you can't see all of the options. So if, for example, there was one a minute ago, which was women's hats, right? You might think that this site only does women's hats if that's what your view came up with immediately, right? So the key here, as someone has just pointed out, actually in the comments, is I can't stop this thing, right? It's carrying on regardless, and it's animating without any interaction from me. So
Peacha says it's making her a tad motion sick, and
exactly.
And Paul, I've been that customer, man, where like you see a deal or an offer. I mean, I do see on this site there are the dots, right? But and you can kind of like find, you're sitting there with your like micro precision mouse trying to like find like which one was the one. But like sometimes there are carousels. And I'm not talking about this site, but sometimes there are carousels where you don't even have that navigation, and you're like, wait a minute, I saw the thing that I wanted to buy, and then you're like waiting, and if the timer's like 30 seconds, you're like, I know the thing I want to buy is somewhere, right? So what's something that people can do instead of carousels or to make carousels work?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with carousels themselves. I think the fundamental problem here is, well, there are two. One is animation and the use of animation. And the second one is that there's a lot of hidden information that you can only see when you interact with it. So let's deal with each of those in turn. Animation is the primary problem that's going on here, right? Is that you've got movement going over which you've got no control. In fact, you've got two lots of movement. You've got the ticker at the very top, and you've got the carousel going. And the problem that this creates is something called cognitive load, right? So there's a great, if you want to check it out, there's a really good video. If you go to YouTube and you search on the invisible monkey, have you ever seen the invisible monkey? I've just ruined it, really. I should have just played it, but I've given it away. So basically, you have a load of basketball players, right? Two teams, black and white, right? And they're passing a ball backwards and forwards between them, right? So the black team is passing a ball, the white team is passing a ball. And your job is to count the number of passes. And you're concentrating so much on that movement, there's so much movement going on, that you don't see a man dressed as a monkey walk across the middle of the screen, right? And it's a lesson in cognitive load, that if there's a lot distracting you, if there's a lot of movement going on, you will miss a critical thing like an invisible monkey, right? So anyway, the long and the short of it is that's what this animation is doing. It's actually making it hard for you to listen to me now because there's all this other stuff going on. And it's certainly hard for you to read about their Monte Cristo hats and their men's collections and all of that kind of stuff. So first thing you can do, stop the animation, right? Have it only animate when somebody interacts with it. Right, and that generally includes all animation across all sites. So another thing that's really popular at the moment is video backgrounds. They are a terrible idea. You know, when you have text over the top of a video background, terrible for conversion, right? So get rid of that kind of thing. put the user in control. So if the user is scrolling, that could trigger an animation. If somebody rolls over something, that could trigger an animation, and so on and so on and so on. That's one thing. Then, of course, the problem that creates, sorry, I will take a breath in a minute. I get over excited. The problem that creates is that people go, oh, well, they're not going to know that we do a men's collection and there's women's collection and that kind of stuff. Well, that's fine. What you do is below your carousel, you have little summaries of each of the carousel positions. And instead of having these tiny little buttons that you have to click on, you actually have a men's collection, women's collection, along underneath. And when you click on them, it updates carousel above. So
I had to, Paul, I had to take it off because you were talking and I was watching it go, and I'm like, man, our viewers have to be kind of going through the same thing.
Yeah.
And if you think about that, right? Like if you were just to sit on the page and start to make some purchasing decisions of like, why am I here? What am I actually interested? I'm trying to find something, and we keep interrupting that person's like mental flow by throwing other imagery and calls to action. Like, it actually kind of got to be a lot to look at while we were sitting on that page. This actually is Nicole Guzman, who's hanging out with us in chat, and I just want to invite any other folks that are watching the live stream today, if you want Paul to review a site, if you want to throw it in the ring today to have us look at it, throw that in the comments. But Nicole, of course, brought up that question. Oh, we tried to convince our client not to do this, but we lost the battle.
Yeah.
What I heard from you, Paul, though, was how we can almost take a client's suggestion as an agency, like, hey, we want to have this slider, but then improve their desire to have a lot of information by maybe choosing a better slider widget, one that maybe shows categories or descriptions of the offer, and allows the person to navigate between those things versus kind of the mystery meat dots along the bottom, right? So we can sometimes make our clients happy, but also make really good UX decisions without totally throwing out the concept.
And I think to some degree, it's also about educating the client. I think when we go back, the trouble is we know a lot of things instinctively. We know it's annoying, but we can't really express necessarily why it's annoying. And that's why, I used I talked about cognitive load, right? Because that immediately makes you sound more intelligent if you use words like cognitive load. And I also had that practical illustration with the invisible monkey, right? And actually, if you
Hey, Paul, I lost your audio, man. I'm not sure if that's all of us. So audience, quick question, if you're still getting audio from me. I don't know, Picha, I know you're jamming with us today. I just want to make sure at least one of our audio is coming through today while we're working to get... Sorry
about that.
Oh, there we go. Paul, I'm starting to hear you again.
Yes. Sorry, my AirPods decided to cut out partway through. Good quality Apple product.
You were looking at your phone, weren't you, Paul? You were multitasking. That's always the auto switching. I'm just kidding, man.
Probably.
Thank you, Picha and Jason, for giving us a quick thumbs up on the audio. So let's maybe look at one more page on this shop, because I feel like we're getting some really good stuff. We ran our carousels through the ringer a bit, and I'm sure all of us agency owners feel the pain of clients asking us to do things that we know might not be the best thing. So let's take a look at another suggestion.
I just wanted to jump into the product page, because this page has to do a lot of work, right? Because let's be honest, you're trying to sell a hat worth $1,300. That's not cheap. So you need to justify that. So I'm just having a look here at what we've got, and we're actually pretty sparse information-wise here. So for me, when you're trying to sell anything, there are multiple, probably 4 different aspects that you need to address, right? And this applies to a product page, it applies to a landing page, it applies to a home page, all basically the same. And the 4 pieces of information are essentially, you need to demonstrate the benefits of the product, right? So how is the product going to improve my life, or help me overcome a pain point, or help me achieve a goal? So in this case, it's about self-actualization here. It's about being perceived as a certain type of person, maybe a bit bohemian, maybe, the quality, status. There's all those kinds of things, right? So your benefits, then you've got your features, right? So how does it deliver? So obviously the big benefit is quality, is luxury, is that kind of high end. So how does it deliver that? With its choice of materials, with its design aesthetic, these, the way it's handcrafted, these are the features that make up the product. Then on top of that, you've got social proof, right? So now you want to emphasize that this product is the kind of product that people that you aspire to be like wear, right? And this is so important for fashion in particular. So what celebrities are wearing this kind of fashion? What kind of people wear this fashion? All-time classic version of that was Apple in the early days, the Mac versus PC, right? Apple positioned itself, we're for creative people, right? We don't care about spreadsheets. This was back in the day. We're for creative people. This kind of fashion wear is for creative people. So it should be showing not just the hat, but the hat being worn by the kind of people that your audience want to be, right? So that's one type of social proof. Then celebrities is another type of social proof. Reviews are another type of social proof. It's all about making people feel that they could belong to this set of people that they aspire to be, and B, that group of people have bought this product and like this product, and it's a product that reassures them, right? So social proof is the third thing. Then the fourth aspect of all of this, that is objection handling, right? So what you've got to do when you're selling any particular product like this is you've got to ask yourself, what objections might somebody have when they come to at the moment of buying, right? So we're at this moment of buying, right? So my objections might be things like, how long is this going to last, right? Is it going to fit me? If it doesn't fit me, can I return it? How is it delivered? Is it going to be, actually, kind of well wrapped, and or is it going to get damaged when it gets delivered? If I don't like it, can I return it? If how can I spread the payments? All of those kinds of things. Now, some of those you've dealt with here. You've dealt with the spreading the payment. You've given me a size guide, which helps, but I'm not seeing anything about the most critical thing, which is returning it. What if I don't like this? And also with the social proof side of things, nobody has reviewed this. Nobody has bought this hat, or nobody cares enough to bother reviewing it. It's singularly unimpressed people. That's what that's saying, right? If you've had no reviews, don't show reviews, right?
That was my immediate thought, Paul, was like, if the reviews are 0, right, we should somehow find a different way to get people to review it and not show that it has 0 reviews.
And one last thing, because we've got other sites, and I suspect you'll want to move me on from this. I could spend forever talking about this one site. But one last thing, right? So they've done what I suggested, right? Every page, in my view, should have a primary and secondary call to action, right? So the primary call to action is pretty obviously add to basket, to buy this. But when you're talking about buying a $1,300 hat, you want to consider it and think about it a little bit. So What do we want to do? We want to make sure that they don't go away and not come back. So we want a way of maintaining contact with them. Okay. How do we want to maintain contact with them? Well, back to that newsletter again and my 10% off. Call to action, secondary call to action, subscribe to our newsletter. Great in principle, but what motivation? You're not offering me my 10% off. Yeah. And you're not telling me what I'm going to get in the newsletter. Well, you're not telling me, you're not dealing with any of my objections. What am I going to get? How often are you going to email me? Are you going to sell my email address to a third party? Can I unsubscribe easily? Let me just compare it very quickly to my own site.
Putting your own stuff out there, Paul.
Right. So if we go through to one of my articles, which are effectively my product, and scroll down to the bottom, skip all this rubbish. Well, it's not rubbish. It's quality content. Sorry, I'll take that back.
Adequate content, Paul. Yeah. It's adequate content.
This is my call to action. Looks damn ugly, doesn't it? But actually converts really well. And the reason it does is because it is dealing with people's objections. It's saying what you're going to get, improve your knowledge of user experience, design, digital marketing, digital leadership. It's saying how often you're going to get it. It's got a couple of, didn't mean to click that. It's got a couple of additional incentives. You get a free book and a free course. It says who it's for. You can see examples of previous emails. You can unsubscribe in one click, and I'll never share your email address. So look how hard I'm working to get that call to action from people.
You know, I just looking at your architecture of your offer, right? There's a very clear hook. There's a very clear build, and there's a very clear payoff, right? We've got the attention-grabbing headline. We've got some tension building stuff that you're going to get, and then you've got that clear call to action of what they need to do next. And I think that if we were to look at the subscribe for this page, right, it would be like the hook would be like get 10% off, your first order with this hat, right? Yeah. And then the build is like get exclusive offers from Worth and Worth. For the newest hat styles every month or every week or whatever it is, subscribe to our newsletter today and you can unsubscribe at any time, kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Should we have a look at a different site?
Yeah, there was actually one. I know we had a bunch submitted ahead of time. I'm going to just throw one out there. Magicoils.de. This is from Octavian Tunio. I haven't pulled this up ahead of time, so this will be a little bit... Thanks, Octavian, for throwing this in there. Let's see what we got for that. Europe's #1 holistic coach for aromatherapy is the website. So
have I actually typed this in right? Oh, here we go.
There we go. Yeah, that's the one. So Octavian, thank you for submitting that for our live review. After this one, we'll go back to one of the ones that submitted ahead of time, Paul. But I just wanted to throw a shout out for Octavian for making that happen.
Yeah, no, it's good that I much prefer doing ones where I know people are definitely in the room and could be involved. So, I mean, I've got my overlay again, right?
I feel like I needed some music of like dun dun dun, right? The overlay popped up. What's Paul going to say next?
So, yeah, but I actually begin, this is a better one than previous in some ways. It's my top secrets for lifestyle tips. Do you feel the need to change your lifestyle? I like that, right? Do you feel the need to change your lifestyle? So that's a benefit in effect. It's implying that if you get these tips, it will improve your lifestyle. It tells you what you're going to get. You're going to get an ebook, right? And it tells you what that ebook covers and asks for first name, last name. Not bad. Again, I don't feel yet you've earned the credibility for me to hand over my email address. I've only just arrived on the site. And actually, I would tend to keep that maybe for a little bit later in the site, or maybe not even as an overlay, but do like what I've done on my own site, put it in the footer. But yeah, it's got some stuff that's going well. Let's have a look at the site itself. Right. This line is what Steve Krug in his book calls happy talk. Right? If you haven't read Steve Krug's book, Don't Make Me Think.
It's a welcome mat.
Recommend it. Yeah, it's a welcome mat. It doesn't actually say anything. So what do we have instead, right? Well, any homepage really needs to start with a value proposition, right? And your value proposition really consists of three parts. There's the benefits and the features that we've already talked about when we were talking about the previous example. But the third part is your strap line, right? And your strap line should say specifically what this site covers and how it helps in a single line, right? So this would say something like, using aromatherapy to improve your well-being. I don't know, I made that up because it's showing my utter ignorance of aromatherapy.
Well, I think if you read that, like the I am Lori, your holistic guide to aromatherapy, right? Like the lead, if you will, is kind of buried in there, right? She very clearly says, like, my mission is to help you and your family. So, like, I can imagine something that says, like, improve your your health, family, and personal well-being with the magic of aromatherapy, in 90 days or less or whatever, right?
Yeah. So that's one thing, right? So you need a value proposition. Now, when it comes to then, let's have a look what else is going. Yeah, you see, now this is a great example of the fundamental problem that we see on so many websites, right? No one, I'm sorry to break it to you. What was her name? I've forgotten her name. Lori. I'm sorry to break it to Lori, but nobody's ever going to read that. In fact, statistically, according to the Nielsen Norman Group, people read about 24 to 26% of a page, right? And that is it. So what do we do about that? Well, some attempt has been made here. There are certain words that are being pulled out in bold. But the way that I tend to take it when a client gives me something like this is I break it into content blocks, right? Because content blocks enable scannability. And what a content block is it's a single point, right? Essential oils can be used for cooking, household cleaning, personal hygiene, sleep, boosting immunity, emotional health, weight management, aromatherapy, and much more. That would be a single point, right? So, and then I will associate a heading with that, okay, which summarizes that point. So it might be, for example, essential oils have so many uses, okay? And then you would have the description, which is that sentence. So heading, short sentence, normally about 160 characters or less, potentially a link that goes off to more information, and then potentially an image associated with it. So if you want to see an example of this, I think done quite well, if you go to the Stripe homepage, their whole site is broken into these content blocks. So let's dive down, right? So here we've got a content block. Heading, description, link, image. In fact, they've got content blocks embedded in one another. Image, heading, description, link, right? Heading, description, image, heading, description, so on and so on and so on. And their whole page is made up of that. Heading, description, link, image, right? So that's, go on, Brent.
Yeah, so I think it was, in Don't Make Me Think, he talked about like the F scan of how people scan through pages very quickly. And it kind of follows this like F shape where people don't really read. And so when I look at that Stripe page, I'm like, man, that is like purpose built for somebody who's scanning through. They're looking for they're very, very quickly trying to figure out, like, okay, I mean that stuff, like literally there's code being written live. Like if I was a developer, that's going to catch my attention. I'm gonna be like, ooh, code, right? But you're going through this page and you're kind of looking for signals of where do I belong in this page? What's interesting to me? What's relevant to me? And we're kind of doing that in this, like, start at the top left, move over to the right, go down a little bit, move over to the right. And I think having a nice combination of headline, small amounts of text, buttons, images, potentially even some video and some motion if it's not overwhelming somebody. That's a much better tactic than just like a giant 5-paragraph essay.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's, one of the things that I always do is I always break content down, unless it's something like a blog post. A blog post is a little bit different. It's an article that people have gone to read. So I tend to approach those pages slightly differently, although I still take into account the pattern. So what you're doing is you're breaking the content down into headings, subheadings, scannable blocks and bullets. But on a page like this, a landing page, a page that's trying to sell something, then content blocks tend to be a much better way of going. What else can we say about this? Let's actually dive into one of the individual pages.
One thing too, I mean, just an initial impression of there's, I'm looking at it just above the fold on the homepage, Paul, and just thinking about, kind of what is it, who is it for, what do I get? And I see Magic Oils World. I see somebody sitting on a laptop in bed.
Yeah.
I personally don't know anything about essential oils. So like, is this like a bedtime thing? Is this like I don't know enough, right? Like, and I'm kind of almost looking for some kind of visual of either what kind of benefit or who it's for kind of thing. Or like physically, what is the product, right? And I think I eventually figure that out. As I get, further down the page, there's like little hints of it. Like there's a little oil being put on what looks like a kid's foot. But I don't actually see the product until the very, very bottom of the page. And then I go, oh, okay, there's little like vials and there's oil. But for somebody who's not an essential oils customer yet, I really don't know what exactly I'm dealing with here.
Yeah. And imagery is incredibly important and very powerful. And there are multiple aspects to consider on this. First of all, there is, as you say, you want to show the product so people understand what it's, giving you in an instant. You've got about 8 seconds to effectively grab someone's attention and prove that this site is for them. So yes, you want to show the product, but you also want to show people like your audience. So if you're aiming those essential oils at me, I want to see people like me. On essential oils brings back lost hair. I don't know, something like that. So you do need to represent your audience in that as well, which is why user research is so important. I mean, the example I always give is of a fitness app, right? A fitness app, you could aim at many different groups. You could aim it at teenage boys, right, who want to look buff to impress the girls, right? Or you might want to aim it at middle-aged mums, right, who are, looking to lose some weight after pregnancy, right? Or you might want to aim it at grandparents because grandparents want to be able to pick up and play with their grandkids, right? Now, the way that the imagery you use is how you indicate who that is for, right? Who that product is for. So, yeah, absolutely. The imagery has to include the product, but it also has to include the kind of person. And in this case, it's not doing either of that. It feels like you're just filling in space, to put some visual interest on the page. So, yeah, you make a very good point. Also, of course, imagery can have a huge impact on where people look on the page. So this isn't necessarily the best image in the world to demonstrate this with, but actually what will happen in this case is your eye will go from over here, which is where it always starts, the top left corner, will follow along her leg to her face and then kind of just stops, right? But if you had a picture of the woman looking down the page, it's going to draw your eye further down the page, okay? So you can lead people's attention with your choice of imagery as well. If that is something you're interested in, try out this product. This is called Attention Insights. You can use it for free, and basically you can upload your design to it, and it's got thousands of hours worth of eye tracking studies. That essentially what it's done is it's taken all those thousands of hours and used machine learning to predict where people will look on a page. It's like a spell checker for designers. I use it all the time to ensure that people are seeing things like your call to action and that kind of stuff. Sorry, right. We were gonna. Oh, I've got
maybe one more page on this. And just to call out, Peach has said there's also plenty of research proving that unless an image is meaningful, people simply ignore it. And I think we've all seen 1,000,001 stock photos that we almost kind of cognitively go, okay, that's a stock, right? Like it's almost like not even an original photo. Like our brain just kind of figures it out. But let's look at one more page on this site, Paul.
So quite an interesting thing happened there is I went to receive your welcome package, grab your oils, and immediately it opened a new tab and went to a completely different website. And that is going to scare people. You will see an enormous drop off at that point. The reason being is because now actually in Safari this is all right, but in other browsers it would break that back button. So the back button no longer works, so I can't get back where I was for a start. I've lost that previous site. But B, and more importantly, is I've been taken to another website. Who are these guys? What are they about? I've got to A, learn an entirely new interface. B, I've got no idea who they are or what their relationship is to the first website I was looking at. So at least, I accept that sometimes, this is necessary. Perhaps it's some kind of affiliate program that she's participating in or something like that. But at least prepare users for that transition. Tell them you're going to be taken to a different website. Explain what your relationship is with those people, that kind of thing.
So it's almost like those all those buttons seem like they would be buttons taking me to some page on this website. And I totally understand the doTERRA affiliate model. So they're essentially there's an affiliate relationship there. And, website A is kind of sneaking in affiliate links to website B. And if we're really looking to build a brand or reputation of website A over the long run, we probably should have a little bit better method for those specific call to actions that are leading over to the doTERRA site to buy the actual product.
Yeah. Cool. Should we try another website? Have we had any more suggestions in the chat, or shall I just go with one of the ones we had from?
Let's jump to one of the ones from the pre-done list, if you want to do that.
Right, but let's try this guy. This is the list building school. That was another one that came up on the list of suggested places that we check out. I find this quite interesting because increasingly we've looked at an e-commerce site, we've looked at a blog which uses affiliate linking. Now this is an example of selling some kind of course or online event or something like that. So again, it's another very common use case that comes across. So actually, this is a great sign of a value proposition done well, right? You arrive on this list building school, right? It helps that the name actually describes what they do. Brilliant. If you're in that luxury position of having a descriptive company name, then you've got to really enjoy that, because it doesn't happen often. But then also the strapline itself is pretty good. Anyone can learn email marketing from these 20 industry experts. So you've got some great stuff in there, right? You've got it's about learning email marketing, that you're getting a lot of different expert opinions. Brilliant. The only thing I would change in that is I would change the word anyone. I would change it to you.
You can learn email marketing from these 20 plus industry experts. Yeah. And this actually is a site from Jan Koch, who's one of our Cloudways Mavericks. So I love that he posted this in our group. He was like, "Do your worst" or whatever, right? So I think we could be safe to be critical and whatever, because Jan's gonna take it, man. He's gonna run with it. I know it, right? He's gonna watch this and he's gonna change that word to you in no time.
Yeah, because obviously you want to make it personal to people, right? And that's hugely important. The other thing that I like about this is comparing it to the previous design and the conversation we just had then about imagery. He hasn't put in imagery for imagery's sake, right? But this looks boring. Does it? I don't think it does. I think it looks clean and simple and explains what it does on the tin, right? Would it be better if there was a piece of stock photography with some email marketing stuff in it? Probably not. It might help someone identify slightly quicker, because we process imagery faster than we process text. So it might enable someone to realize that this is a course, or it's about email marketing, but it's not fundamental to its success. Discover how to write emails.
If we were going to put an image here, right? Not like a stock or cheesy thing, right? But if you were going to put an image here, Paul, what would you put?
I think, as this seems to be an online event, I think I would possibly have some kind of image from the online event, right? I mean, look at what's on the screen right now in front of you guys. You got somebody with their animated hands moving around, which kind of looks great. We obviously look very expert. We both look like incredible experts. So, obviously that's inspiring. And then you've got a nice screenshot, which is, kind of relevant. Something not dissimilar to that, because it says it's about email marketing, because you'd see that on the screen. It says, you can see that it's us giving a presentation. Hell, we've even just got a bit of social proof on the screen as well, which works really well. Yeah,
I was gonna say, Paul, this is really good timing, man, because Michael from the audience, I think you got a super fan in the audience today, man.
Oh, thank you, Michael. You just provided a bit of social proof for me. Brilliant. So yeah, you could do an image, like that. That would, because it communicate. See, images shouldn't just be used to make something pretty. They should communicate the content, communicate value. So it needs to show it's about email marketing. It needs to show it's an online event. So discover how email marketing to your subscribers want to read, leverage technology, automation. I would be tempted maybe to break that into bullets rather than making me read a whole paragraph there. So, it could say, write emails your subscribers want to read, tick. Leverage technology like email automation, tick. Develop effective email marketing strategies, tick. Use email ethically, tick. Bullet, boom, boom, boom. Right? The event will bring together email marketing, the best email marketing in the industry, blah, 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 blah. That second sentence almost doesn't really need to be there if you're going to be super critical, but it's not a big thing. But then we've got an online event. Great. You said when your online event is, get my ticket for free. This threw me, right? Because I saw free, $997. It took me a moment to go, hang on, you're not going to charge me that. That's what it's worth, right? So even something like just putting something that I've seen often is just putting a line through that. So not $997 line free to you, or this might even be a thing where you say, if you sign up before this date, it's for free in order to encourage people to act sooner. This is brilliant. Love this. Join 8,200 people. That's a type of social proof, right? Because it's immediately making it clear, look, lots of people are doing this, right? You're in safe hands. You've also said, just like you. So that's the idea of, making a social. Now, I'd quibble with it a little bit. I know I said use you up here, but I'm just going to be slightly picky at this point. I would say it might be worth specifying who like you, because that can mean anybody, right? Join 8,200 marketing professionals like yourself, or whatever else. Or you could even do that thing where the word flips, the marketing professionals, UX professionals, enthusiasts, entrepreneurs, and the word changes on a cycle or something like that.
That's one of the things I was going to say above the fold, like, what is it? Who is it for? And I loved your suggestion of you, but I still wasn't really sure. Is this for, people with a course? Is this for just marketing pros? Is this for entrepreneurs, e-commerce businesses, and things like that?
Yeah, and the level of expertise. Do I need to already have a good understanding of email marketing, or is it a beginner's guide? That kind of thing is important as well. And that goes back to the objection handling. It goes back to this idea of we've really got to think about what the objections are, or what questions people might have, and make sure you're answering them. This is great. This is great. This is a little secret that I use quite a lot, which is expert or credibility via association. All right. So by saying you've got speakers, these are big names. The fact that it's the person that cleans the toilets at Inc. is beside the point. It's someone that works at Inc. So that's great. No, I'm sure I'm being facetious, but that is a great, really compelling type of social proof that adds credibility to this school because you've got big speakers coming to it from big organizations. Why should you attend? Great. Love it. Great question. I'm glad you asked. Yeah, a bit happy talk there, but we'll let off, a little bit. That's only a little bit. Here's a taste of what you will discover. How to use Instagram, why WhatsApp, actionable strategy. Now, notice what I'm doing there, right? That's how people read. I just read like people do. How to use Instagram, why WhatsApp. I didn't read the whole sentence. I just read the first part of it. So it's really important when you're writing content to make sure you get to the point. Now, that he has done in this case. He got the word Instagram. He's got the word WhatsApp in straight away. Actionable strategies, another great one. Mental strategies, not quite sure what that is. Through successful deal with entrepreneurs, stress and that one might be wanted to be reworded to put dealing with stress and setbacks.
Just that last part,
yeah. So you can kind of you go through each of these things, and GDPR, you've got the magic word that makes everybody feel ill, but has to deal with.
So on the copy side, I mean, one suggestion that was given to me early on in copywriting days was, kind of write your page, which I think it feels like, this is probably somebody came through and wrote all the copy for the page. But a challenge that was given to me was, then go back and see if you can get rid of half the words, and then, maybe even go back again and get rid of half the words again. And I feel like that might be a solution for the happy talk stuff. Like, is this sentence adding value to the page? Is it something that could be communicated in fewer words, knowing that people are scanning, people aren't going to read everything, and so why make them, right? I mean, it makes it feel like, the page is full, but I feel like you could go through a page like this and be really, kind of cutthroat about like just slashing and burning maybe like 25 to 50% of the text, and you probably would end up with a little punchier copy out of that.
And that, again, that what you just said, cut it in half again, that comes straight out of Steve Krug's book, Don't Make Me Think. There's a chapter about verbose copy that he suggests exactly that. And I actually take that a little bit further, if I'm honest. What I will do now with a landing page is I will look at every single element on that page, the logo, this call to action, this title, this text, every element on the page. And I ask myself 3 questions in order. 1, could I remove this, right? Every element on the page takes a certain degree of mental effort to process that, right? And it's like another ball being passed between those basketball players, right? That distract you from the important information, okay? So the first thing I suggest is basically, can I remove it? If I think removing it will actually undermine the conversion of it. The second question I ask is, well, can I hide this? Could I put it on a sub page? Could I put it under an accordion or a tab, or or a carousel for that matter? And then if the answer to that is no, this really needs to be front and center, well, can I shrink it? Can I visually de-emphasize it? Can I put it lower on the page where it's not so in people's face? And I do that for every single element on the page, and it works really well.
Paul, I love this. If you all saw me like looking down, I'm actually like taking notes. I'm kind of here as a student as well. So Paul, I just want to say thanks. I love these little like the quick hits on this of those 3 questions, right? Like hitting the thing that you mentioned earlier of like benefits, features, social proof, objection handling, the value prop, benefits, features, plus the strat line. Like these are those nuggets that I hope our viewers, whether you're a business owner and you need to go to your web pro or your agency and ask them how to improve your landing page, how to improve your e-commerce store for Black Friday and Cyber Monday, right? These are the things that are going to make you look like a much smarter business owner going to your agency. And then if you're an agency, hopefully these frameworks are giving you some idea of how to have a conversation with your clients to guide them to making smart decisions versus them dictating what they want just because they saw some random website that did the same thing, right?
Yeah. And talking, I think when it comes back to conversion, I know you're trying to wrap up, Brent, and that was such a brilliant wrap up. And now I'm talking again. But what I wanted to leave people with that is that thing of focusing on benefits and features, get your social proof in there, and then be relentless about reducing cognitive load by removing anything that isn't needed. And that just doing those things will improve your conversion rate dramatically.
Yeah, and Paul, I was going to say, man, we probably have time for like one more quick tactic on this. I wasn't quite giving you the what did the old people do on the stage? They put the hook out and they pulled them off, right?
I've got a story I could tell about that, but we don't have time. So we're going to look at one more site. Is that what you want to do?
Well, you can either do one more suggestion on this site, or we can do a quick lightning round on one more news site. We probably have time for one more before I'll do an official wrap.
I'm gonna look at this site, and the reason I'm gonna look at this site is because it's an agency site, and I know that a lot of your, the people that are in this are agencies, So what about you, and how can you improve your site? This is a beautiful site. It looks stunning. It's really clear. I'm just going to close that.
I should have come up with a sound effect for that ahead of time, Paul, just so we could we could hit that, but maybe on the next webinar.
So there's a lot I like about this, right? In terms of visuals and all the rest of it. But one of the things with being an agency that I think is really important is to get that strap line right, to differentiate yourself from other people. And this strap line for me doesn't quite work, right? Actually, do you know what? I've reread it. I misread it the first time. Isn't that interesting? I read it as making the world a better place, which I thought was amazingly arrogant for an agency to say. But they've not said that. They're saying you're making the world a better place. We'll help you change more lives. That totally changes it, actually. Isn't that interesting? I misread that. Anyway, set that aside. What I will say is one thing that I really like about these guys is that they've got, a very clearly defined audience that they're working on, right? Not-for-profits, charities, and NGOs. Brilliant. Secondly, they're very clear about what it is that they deliver: web design, branding, and digital marketing. Brilliant. For me, this second line is actually superior to the first line because it says what you do on the tin in a non-pretentious way. That said, this wasn't as bad as I thought it was. The other thing I really like about this is really clear call to action, right? No messing around. And just, I really like this. It's very clear about what you do, how you work. Why are you smiling, Brent? Is this your site or something?
This is one of our YouGurus client sites. So I have to say I've been mentoring and coaching. I didn't submit it, man. I didn't even know it was on the list. So I just thought, I was like, I'm gonna hold I'm not going to bias Paul, right? But it is one of my clients from YouGurus, and actually, he does a little bit of mentorship with us now.
It's really well thought through. It's laying out, content blocks, image, title, description. Brilliantly done. Very clear call to action repeated down the page. But then the secondary call to action, right? So obviously the main thing we want to do is get people to book a free consult, to contact you. But you've got this really strong secondary call to action coming in here of, well, if you're not ready to do that, then you might be interested in our ebook. Okay? Brilliant. Really like it. So actually the reason I want to, and then talk about social proof. Look at that lot, right? And I think maybe I would tweak the order a little bit, if I'm honest, because there's some names that are more, that people know more than others in that. So Dell, I've moved to the start. You've got to start strong and end strong with lists like this. So you put clients that everybody's heard of at the start, big clients everybody's heard of at the end, and you put the little ones in the middle that nobody's heard of. And then even kind of pick your own date, Calendly integration. I cannot knock this. It's such a good. Nobody cares about your origin story. That's the only thing I'd say. Nobody
Maybe
gives a shit.
It's a token for the owner, right? They care about it. They want to have it out there. But again, there was some other logos on there that maybe were more recognizable if they've done consulting or had some kind of work with them.
This is an interesting one, client satisfaction. So these are quotes from a client, right? And one of the problems that you often come with testimonials is they end up being too long, which is kind of what's happening here, right? Nobody's going to read all this. They've solved it by highlighting keywords: quick response, competitive pricing, pressure and easy, trained us, right? Brilliant, love it. The other way I often do it is I will have a heading that will say something like, quick response and competitive pricing. Ooh, so there are different ways, but it's that idea of taking longer blocks of text and making them more scannable, because people aren't going to read all of that unless you really grab their attention. So
I'm going to have to get us close to wrapping now, Paul. So we promised a lightning round on that one, and we over-delivered. I want to make sure that we get people on. So real quick, Paul, I mean, first of all, man, this was hugely valuable. I think even just to end on David at Wow Digital's site and showing that for an agency, I think would be is a really good example. I mean, I love those the blocking, the headlines, who it's for. I think that suggestion on the testimonials to either put the summary or even go back to your clients and shorten those testimonials up into shorter things and getting the client to sign off on, hey, is it okay if we use a shorter version that looks like this, and get them to say yes to it versus including kind of that whole long form thing. So this has been a lot of fun, man. We got through, I think I had a goal of at least 3 sites today, and I think we maybe got through one more than that, so that's pretty awesome, man. Real quick before we close out today, Paul, obviously you've got your websites. How can people find out more about you and the work that you do if they're interested?
That's simply by going to boagworld.com. So that's got everything about the services that I offer, but also I've got loads of. I've been blogging for 15 plus years. I've got podcasts, I've got courses, I've got newsletters, all advice, really. I don't sell my services very much anymore. I'm a bit lazy like that. People tend to come to me, but check that out, and maybe there's stuff in there that you'll find useful. The newsletter in particular is my real passion. I love doing that. So yeah.
I think if you're looking for some of the stuff that we've talked about today in practice, checking out boagworld.com and being able to look at how Paul actually does this himself, because he's not just up here talking the talk, he's walking the walk. We looked at one of your calls to action today. I think looking at your site structure, looking at the different stuff you have available, and then also if you are looking to go deeper on this topic, podcast articles and all that good stuff. And Picha actually says, great newsletter, highly recommend. So you're getting some shout outs from our folks on that today. So Paul, this has been absolutely fantastic. If you all are just tuning in, we're closing out the session, so catch it on the replay. We are doing the Cloudways Cyber Monday and Black Friday Prepathon all week. There are going to be replays on Facebook and the Cloudways YouTube channel. You can check that out at youtube.com/Cloudways. And our next session is actually starting right now, 11 a.m. Central Time, on Twitter. There's a Cloudways chat on Twitter. I believe they're using the hashtag CWChat, but you can also just go to the Cloudways Twitter and jump into that conversation. So if you're looking to jump in and have some more conversation about UI, UX, delighting customers with a bug-free experience, we've got Michael Bodnarchuk on Twitter, so go and ask him questions about UI, UX to keep the conversation going on Twitter. I'm going to be back hanging out with you all tomorrow with some live sessions on industry trends for WooCommerce and some other things that we're talking about. And then Friday, we've got a customer panel and Dennis Yu. We've got a huge week for you, and you can catch all those replays on YouTube and Facebook. Thanks again for hanging out with us today. This has been absolutely fantastic. And Paul, again, man, thanks for hanging out with us today. This has been awesome. Somebody said earlier that this was one of the best sessions that they've been to so far. So, Man, as far as being
That's
an
what I like to
adequate UX professional, I think you over deliver. I think we can put the legend
We
label
can
on you
upgrade, can we?
and feel pretty confident.
All right, that's good. Thank you very much, guys. Look after yourselves.
All right, that's it for today. Until next time, I'm Brent Weaver.